Chapter 342. Looking down from the high platform, the evil spirit spring that covered the ground below had already risen to a very high position. This spring water wasn't really liquid, but it looked just like liquid, thick and flowing, containing all kinds of evil and danger. The evil spirit scrambled for this spring water like a flock of ducks, constantly devouring the energy within. But if a martial artist fell into it, they would definitely not have a good ending. But now, Xianxia was wrapped in black qi, completely unaffected by the evil spirit's spring water. He was like a fish swimming in water, constantly swimming back and forth. Wherever he passed, all the scattered evil spirit essences were sucked into his body. Occasionally he would encounter one or two evil spirits, but they didn't attack him. These evil spirits didn't seem to notice his existence and turned a blind eye to him. The group of people were all stunned. The old man on the high platform was also stunned, his face filled with disbelief. This little brat's current state was extremely strange. The energy he was exuding was completely different from before, filled with an evil and brutal aura. He was like a murderous demon that had lost his mind, and his aura was so evil that it made people's hearts tremble. What made the old man even more shocked was that Xianxia was currently collecting evil spirit essences. The evil spirits had been fighting each other for a long time, so there were countless evil spirit essences below. That brat had only gone there for a short while, yet he had already collected a few dozen balls. It was enough to make people envious. Moreover, he was directly absorbing the evil spirit essences into his body, as if he wasn't worried that the evil contained in these essences would cause any harm to him. Hehehehe. Xianxia happily swam in the evil spirit spring water, collecting the essences while constantly letting out a cold laugh. There was some surprise and pride in his laughter, but more than that, it was excitement. Both his body and mind were extremely excited, even his blood was boiling, as if he was holding a naked beauty in his arms and tasting her. The unyielding golden skeleton was pulsing rhythmically. The evil spirit essences that it had just absorbed had made the golden skeleton very happy, and it was crazily devouring the evil energy in the surrounding evil spirit spring water. This energy seemed to suit the golden skeleton's appetite. His body turned into a huge vortex, sucking in all the evil energy around him. Not only did Xianxia not feel uncomfortable, but his face was full of joy. He did not know why this was the case, but since the golden body liked this kind of energy, there was no need to delve into it. He just needed to absorb it. After inhaling for a while, Kai Yang suddenly felt a sense of saturation. It was not that the golden body was full. The golden body was like a bottomless pit. No matter how much energy it absorbed, it would never be saturated. Instead, it was because he had reached the limit of his current realm. If he did not break through the shackle, the golden body would not absorb anymore. Otherwise, it would be a burden to Xianxia. He was aware of this. Xianxia couldn't help but feel a little regretful. This crazy absorption not only replenished the golden avatar, but also stored nearly 100 evil spirit essences in the dantian. Xianxia didn't have the time to refine these essences, so he could only put them in dantian for now. He couldn't save any more. Xianxia was especially interested in the special essence left behind by the soul evil spirit. Compared to the other essences, this one was undoubtedly different. He had to quickly refine it so that he could absorb more of it and take the opportunity to break through his current realm. Thinking so, Xianxia's heart suddenly began to heat up. Turning his head, Xianxia saw that the group of people on the high platform were still looking at him worriedly. In particular, the Hu sisters couldn't hide the worry and concern in their beautiful eyes. Feeling warm in his heart, Xianxia rushed to the high platform and waved to them, "Give me all your purifying spirit bottles." Heh. Chen Yi grinned greedily. "I knew Brother Yang was a righteous man." Saying so, he quickly collected all the purifying spirit bottles and threw them to Xianxia. There were only 5 purifying spirit bottles. Among them, 3 were from Treasure Instrument Sect while 2 were from Ghost King Valley. The Hu sisters had only fled to this place, so naturally they didn't have any purifying spirit bottles. A bottle could hold 20 essences, so 5 purifying spirit bottles equated to 100. With such a huge number, anyone would inevitably be tempted. Yang Kai continued to shuttle back into the evil spirit spring. Wandering unscrupulously among the countless evil spirits, he constantly used his purifying spirit bottles to collect essences. After filling one bottle, he would switch to another. After a short while, all 5 bottles were filled. The old man and the free and unfettered sect disciples all stared blankly, everyone's eyes filled with greed and envy. They were so busy fighting on this high platform that they didn't even have the time to collect star sources, but Yang Kai was simply wandering around the spring without any hesitation, collecting one star source after another, which would make anyone's eyes go red with envy. Comparing the two, how could they not be envious? The old man was now filled with regret, his old face filled with a variety of emotions, all kinds of emotions churning in his heart. If he had known that this little brat had such great ability, how could he have torn apart all pretense of cordiality with Yang Kai? However, it was only at this moment that she witnessed his mysteriousness and strength. Even if she regretted, it was useless. Just now, when he had struck Yang Kai, he had completely ruined any hope of making friends with Yang Kai. Even if he couldn't get Yang Kai to help him create that magical defensive barrier, he could at least collect some essences for him. Yang Kai's action of collecting essences was even simpler than picking a watermelon. What an unlucky year, he had let go of such a good opportunity. In an instant, the old man felt his teeth hurt, his liver hurt, his stomach hurt, his entire body hurt. Yang Kai took 5 full bottles and tossed them up, not in a hurry to return. Instead, floating above the evil spirit spring, he turned his head and gloomily glanced at the old man. The old man's heart skipped a beat, not knowing what Yang Kai's gaze meant. Just as he was feeling conflicted, he saw Yang Kai grin at him, his scarlet eyes flashing a strange light as he leisurely flew over. Everyone on the high platform was on high alert, as if they were facing a great enemy. They were already struggling to deal with these evil spirits, so if Yang Kai took advantage of this opportunity to add insult to injury, they would be finished. This was really a case of when it rains it pours, when the boat is late, the wind blows. Yu Qing secretly blamed the old man for his rashness just now and smiled towards Yang Kai from a distance, saying, "Friend, please slow down, our free and unfettered sect has no grudge with you, please think twice before you act." Seeing Yu Qing act in such a low-key manner, the Ghost King Valley disciples couldn't help but feel a burst of joy. Looking at Yang Kai again, they didn't think he was evil at all. Instead, at this moment, his back was handsome and extraordinary. He didn't say anything. He didn't take any action, but his presence alone was enough to make his enemies tremble in fear. As a man, this is how it should be, Chen Yi said with a look of worship. Lung Shan snorted and rolled her eyes. "Friend, if you have something to say, we can talk it out." Yu Qing saw Yang Kai remain silent and didn't know what he wanted to do. He could only laugh dryly. The old man's face was also gloomy and uncertain. He remained silent, allowing Yu Qing to act like a grandson, but he also wanted to use him to inquire about Yang Kai's intentions. "I want something." Just as Yu Qing was feeling restless, Yang Kai opened his mouth. Yu Qing calmed down and quickly replied, "What does friend want? As long as my free and unfettered sect has it, we will give it to you. We will immediately offer it. Here's your purifying spirit bottle." Yang Kai grinned, his white fangs appearing particularly terrifying as they were wrapped in black qi. Of course. Yu Qing didn't dare to neglect and quickly took out the purifying spirit bottles his brothers carried. They only carried 2 purifying spirit bottles. This was something Yang Kai was also clear about. Moreover, these 2 bottles also contained a few evil spirit essences. Lightly stowing them away. Turning to look at the old man, Yang Kai sneered meaningfully, slowly narrowing his eyes as he said, "Do you need me to say more?" The old man coldly snorted, his expression clearly unhappy. He was an immortal ascension boundary 5th stage master, and although he knew Yang Kai was powerful, in fact, he wasn't afraid of him. However, he still had 4 juniors he needed to take care of. Without the certainty of killing Yang Kai in a single blow, the old man didn't dare act rashly. Since Kai Yang had so blatantly demanded something from him, and in front of a junior, the old man naturally couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. Face aside, The old man didn't want to provoke Yang Kai any further. After snorting, the old man suppressed his anger and said, "Give it to him." But a young man next to the old man hesitated. Obviously, he didn't want to give in so easily. "I said give it to him," the old man shouted. "Yes." The young man glared hatefully at Yang Kai, grit his teeth, took out 2 purifying spirit bottles from his sleeve, and tossed them to Yang Kai. Yang Kai reached out and caught them, staring at the young man indifferently. "I'll remember you, be careful." The young man was full of vigor, and with the support of his elders, he sneered at Yang Kai. Yang Kai's face went cold as a cold light flashed across his eyes. But before he could act, the old man swung his hand and slapped the young man. Pa, with an incomparably crisp sound, the young man was sent spinning several times on the spot, and after stabilizing himself, one of his cheeks suddenly swelled up. "Will you die if you don't speak?" The old man glared at him fiercely. "This old master doesn't want to provoke this strange little brat any longer, but you're still talking nonsense. If you really force him to act now, none of you will leave here alive." The young man was obviously stunned by this slap, seemingly not having expected his honored master to slap him, covering his cheek in a daze, his eyes filled with humiliation and anger, his face alternating between red and blue, but he didn't dare to open his mouth to say anything, swallowing back the blood in his mouth. "Little friend, are you satisfied?" The old man glanced at Yang Kai faintly. "Haha." Yang Kai laughed wildly, nodding repeatedly. "Satisfied? Please go back," the old man quickly said. Yang Kai standing next to their high platform always made the old man feel like he was being stabbed in the back. He was constantly on guard against Yang Kai's sudden attack while simultaneously dealing with the evil spirit, making it extremely difficult for him to do so. "No hurry." Yang Kai slowly shook his head, his expression calm and composed. The old man's expression changed slightly, his expression becoming uncertain. Yang Kai waved the purifying spirit bottle in his hand at the old man and slowly began to collect the evil spirit essences floating around their high platform. These essences were left behind by the old man's group and the free and unfettered sects group after they had killed the evil spirits. There were many of them and should have been their spoils of war, but since no one had the time to collect them, they could only let them float around. Chapter 343. Watching Yang Kai leisurely collect the evil spirit essences, Yuqing couldn't help smiling bitterly, opening his mouth but not daring to say anything. The old man's complexion was also ugly, and he had the urge to vomit blood. After a long time, Yang Kai finished collecting the evil spirit essences around them, glancing over at them and chuckling. "Continue, I'll come back later." Saying this out loud really made one feel like they were about to die from anger. The 4 purifying spirit bottles hadn't yet been filled, so Yang Kai walked around in a circle before returning. Arriving at the high platform where everyone was resting, Yang Kai tossed the 4 purifying spirit bottles to the Hu sisters and said, "You keep an eye on them, I need to digest them first." The Hu sisters' faces were like peach blossoms as they smiled sweetly. Although the last 4 purifying spirit bottles were all given to Hu Mei Air and Hu Jiao Air, no one from Ghost King Valley or Treasure Instrument sect complained. Each of them had already harvested 2 bottles of evil spirit essences. Yang Kai's previous debt to Ghost King Valley had not only been completely repaid, but had also given them a big harvest. Needless to say, Tao Yang and the others from Treasure Instrument sect had come here because their honored master wanted to see if this evil spirit essence could be used for artifact refining. Originally, they had only wanted to kill a few red evil spirits, but now that they had reaped such a huge harvest, how could they not be happy? What's more, Hu Mei Air had just jumped into the evil spirit spring to look for Yang Kai, which made everyone realize that the relationship between Yang Kai and the twins was not as simple as they had thought. They weren't strangers who had met by chance. No wonder Yang Kai was able to rescue the twins from the high platform just now. Considering all this, everyone looked at Yang Kai, then at the Hu sisters, all of them wearing strange expressions. Sure enough, he's a pervert. Lung Shan secretly ground her teeth as she cursed. Back in that isolated world, this little bastard had taken advantage of her and ZMO. If it weren't for the enemy attacking them at the last moment, perhaps he and ZMO would have already been together. At that time, if ZMO was really eaten by him, Lung Shan estimated that she wouldn't be able to escape from his grasp. Never would he have thought that even after entering the evil cavern, he would still be able to meet two beauties who had an unclear relationship with him. Moreover, they were twins. How many women did he know outside? That's why he encountered such a low probability thing? Thinking of this, Lung Shan became more and more annoyed. She secretly decided that she would never deal with Yang Kai again. Although he was indeed a good person, but he was a bit too much of a playboy. If she walked together with him again, she might lose her chastity without even knowing how. She still wanted to marry into a good family. Glancing at the Hu sisters, Lung Shan's mouth moved. There was no sound, but she mouthed the words "love-struck fool." The high platform was filled with jubilation. Yang Kai sat cross-legged on the ground, retracting the evil energy into his unyielding golden skeleton. The Dantian's true Yang Yuan Qi once again filled his meridians. The evil energy contained in the evil spirit spring could be directly absorbed into his unyielding golden skeleton, but the evil spirit essence couldn't be absorbed. It needed to be refined with true Yang Yuan Qi. Slightly investigating the Dantian's essence, Yang Kai found that there were more than 100 of them, but only one of them could be determined to be a special essence. It was the one left behind by the soul-type evil spirit after it died. Thinking about it, Yang Kai decided to save it for the end. Good things should always be left for the end. Leading the Dantian's essence into his meridians, Yang Kai used his Yuan Qi to refine it. At the same time, he felt the shackles of his own martial Dao. The shackles of heaven and earth enveloped his body. This layer of shackles couldn't be felt before reaching a certain level, but every time a cultivator was about to break through, they could clearly sense it. Breaking through this layer of shackles would allow a cultivator's strength to rise to the next level. If they couldn't do so, their cultivation would remain stagnant. The stronger one was, the harder it was to break the shackles placed on one's body. This was one of the reasons why a cultivator's strength increased slowly in the later stages. Sometimes a cultivator would be stuck in a certain realm all year round because they were limited by their aptitude, unable to break through that bottleneck. This kind of shackles was especially obvious when one reached the peak immortal ascension boundary. Therefore, in today's world, very few people broke through to the above immortal ascension boundary. And every cultivator who broke through to the above immortal ascension boundary was a powerful overlord. At the very least, they were all masters of first-class forces. If there was an exception, it would be Ling Tai Su. After all, High Heaven Pavilion was only a second-class sect, and now it was on the verge of destruction. Yang Kai used his heart to feel, gathering his essence, qi, and soul, constantly attacking the shackles that bound him. Time slowly passed. After an unknown amount of time, that layer of shackles was suddenly broken. His whole body felt light, as if he had just broken out of a cage, and a sense of freedom was born in his body and mind. It was as if this world could no longer hinder his steps to the peak of the martial Dao. An invisible aura with Yang Kai as the center suddenly spread out, creating a layer of ripples visible to the naked eye. The people who were chatting and laughing were startled by this sudden movement and quickly turned their heads to look at Yang Kai. After confirming that he was making such a commotion because of his breakthrough, they all had strange expressions on their faces. Daring to break through in such a dangerous environment, Yang Kai's courage was really admirable. Yuan Qi Realm, 6th stage. Even if he succeeded in breaking through, Yang Kai didn't immediately get up. He still circulated his secret art, absorbing the evil spirit essence that had just been completely refined into the unyielding golden skeleton. The golden skeleton was no longer saturated and produced a whirlpool-like suction force, swallowing the purified evil spirit essence. The realm that had just broken through quickly stabilized. In the Danton, there was still a mass of evil spirit essence left. It was the special evil spirit essence left behind after its death. Yang Kai's face shook and his spirit rose. He was also looking forward to what benefits this special evil spirit essence would bring him. The Yuan Qi drove it through his meridians, refining and burning it. The impurities were expelled little by little, turning into useless substances that were discharged from the body. It was worthy of being called a special evil spirit essence. Yang Kai spent a full hour to completely refine it. After the refined evil spirit essence flowed through his meridians, it brought a strange feeling that made him feel comfortable. This was an effect that other evil spirit essences did not have. Suddenly, it followed his meridians and rushed straight to the top of his head. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared. The next moment, Yang Kai felt that his spiritual energy had increased by a large amount. This was actually an evil spirit essence that could increase his spiritual energy. Not only that, but there also seemed to be something else. Yang Kai opened his eyes, and there seemed to be an electric current flashing through them, shining brightly as he thought for a while. The corners of his mouth could not help but show a strange smile. He slowly got up. Yang Kai looked towards the high platform where the old man was. "Brother Yang, are you okay?" Chen Yi hurriedly asked. "I can't be better." Yang Kai nodded slightly. Looking at the old man, his eyes gradually became dangerous. Seemingly aware of Yang Kai's gaze, the old man could not help but look back. With just a glance, the old man frowned. He found that this strange young man seemed to be a little different from before. Compared to before, he seemed to have become more confident, more arrogant, and more overbearing. Just after breaking through a small realm, he already has ideas about this old man? The old man sneered in his heart, really overestimating himself. Yang Kai was indeed thinking about this old man. Just now, in order to snatch that special evil spirit essence, this old man had attacked Yang Kai. If it were not for Yang Kai's good physique, the extremely pure yuan qi in his body, and the fact that he had condensed a yang liquid shield at the critical moment, he would not have been able to block that attack. Although he was about to get some interest back, but it had always been Yang Kai's principle to do things. Swallowing humiliation was not something he wanted to do. His eyes flashing, Yang Kai gradually withdrew his hostility. He was not completely sure that he could kill the old man. The old man's realm was too high. Even with the means he had just obtained, he may not be able to kill him. He had to plan carefully. "Brother Yang." Tao Yang's expression was dignified. Looking at Yang Kai, he said, "We just discussed and felt that staying here is not a long-term solution." Yang Kai also felt the same way. Just now, they couldn't escape because countless evil spirits had gathered from all directions, so there was no way to escape, so they could only hide on this central high platform. Now that all the nearby evil spirits had gathered, the outside was undoubtedly safer. Pausing for a moment, Yang Kai asked, "What do you think?" "We want to leave here." Chen Yi frowned, "But there are also concerns. Once we leave this high platform, we may be targeted by those evil spirits, making it difficult for us to escape." "What do you want me to do?" They now regarded Yang Kai as their backbone, so Yang Kai naturally knew that they were pinning their hopes on him. "Brother Yang, can you fly while maintaining such a large-range defensive shield?" Chen Yi asked somewhat embarrassedly. Their Ghost King Valley had the most people, followed by the 4 from Treasure Instrument sect, and finally the Hu sisters. So many people wanting Yang Kai to protect them was really too much. Moreover, they didn't know how much yuan qi Yang Kai had left to squander. "I haven't tried yet, but I should be able to." Yang Kai thought about it carefully. Maintaining such a large defensive shield would definitely consume a lot of yuan qi, but he still had a lot of yang liquid stored in his dantian. "If that's the case, then we can take the risk." Chen Yi nodded slightly. Dong dong. Just as everyone was discussing this matter, not far away, a rapid and powerful heartbeat sounded. Listening to this sound, it seemed to be the beating of a huge heart. Everyone's expression changed as they turned to look at the source of the sound. After a moment of silence, the same thumping sound rang out again. This time, everyone could clearly see that when the thumping sound rang out, the evil spirit spring was actually churning violently. **Pu. The evil spirit spring below the high platform suddenly seemed to be boiling, one giant bubble after another appearing. As soon as the bubble appeared, it burst open, releasing a burst of evil energy. As the bubble burst, the entire evil chi spring water below began to surge up rapidly. Chapter 344. The high platform they were standing on was about 70 to 80 meters above the ground. Originally, after such a long time, the water level of the evil spirit spring should have risen to about 30 meters. However, at this moment, the thick liquid of evil spirit spring water was rising at a crazy speed, as if it was about to explode. Everyone's complexion couldn't help changing greatly. In just 3 breaths of time, the evil spirit spring water had spread to the same height as the high platform and was still rising crazily. Not good. Tao Yang cried out in alarm, his face filled with horror as he watched all this happen. The others also hurriedly shrank back to the middle of the high platform, fearing that they would accidentally fall off and into the evil spirit spring water. With such a large amount of evil spirit spring water erupting, it was already too late for them to escape. Everyone's faces were ashen as they suddenly had no idea what to do. The old man's eyes were also filled with panic. Although he knew about the existence of the evil spirit spring, this was the first time he had encountered one, so he didn't know what was going on. Seeing that the evil spirit spring water was about to envelop them from all directions, the old man knew that this was not a place to stay for long. Letting out a roar, anger rose in his heart as he shouted, "If you don't want to die, come with me." As he spoke, a fierce burst of energy erupted from his body, opening a gap in the encirclement of the evil spirits as his yuan qi burst out, protecting his 4 juniors as he rushed towards Yang Kai and the others. The free and unfettered sect disciples also hurriedly followed, using all kinds of martial skills and artifacts to protect themselves, so for a time they didn't have to worry about their safety. Yang Kai's expression was indifferent as he narrowed his eyes at the old man who was rapidly approaching them. A cold light flashed across his eyes. The purpose of the old man's flight was self-evident. In a moment, this entire area would be flooded with evil spirit spring water. At that time, the high platform where Yang Kai and the others were standing would become the only safe haven. With 20 layers of true Yang Yuan Qi layered over each other, it would be more than enough to resist the corrosion of the evil spirit spring. In this life and death crisis, the old man had decided to take a risk. Flying closer, the old man didn't rush to attack. Instead, he simply looked at Yang Kai and said, "Little friend, there are many unpleasant things between us. But at this time, this old man won't waste time with you. How about you ask your friends to give up a few seats?" Yang Kai looked at him mockingly. "Can't you see that our side is already full?" The old man's face darkened and he said anxiously, "That's why I asked you to give up a few seats." With the evil spirit spring acting so strangely, he didn't know what would happen next. Without this old master, an immortal ascension boundary master, what chance did you have of surviving? These friends of yours have varying strengths. Why don't you just send a few of the weaker ones out? You need to know that making things convenient for others is also making things convenient for yourself. Senior. Yu Qing anxiously called out. Listening to the old man's words, it seemed that he had no intention of bringing along the free and unfettered sex people, so naturally he was anxious. When the others heard this, they also looked at the old man angrily. When he said this, it was obvious that he wanted these people to go out and die in their place. Yang Kai sneered and shook his head. "It's quite convenient for me now. That's why I don't want to make things easy for others." "Junior, you asked for it." The old man's face filled with anger as he angrily shouted. The evil spirit spring was rising higher and higher, so he didn't have any more time to waste. If this old master doesn't have a good time, don't think you'll have a good time either. Free and unfettered sect, join with this old master and drive them out. Only by occupying this high platform can you survive. The old man shouted. Good. Yu Qing was overjoyed and didn't hesitate to agree. On the high platform, everyone's expression was gloomy to the extreme. This old man was obviously like a cornered dog jumping over a wall. With an immortal ascension boundary 5th stage master and 7 or 8 Yuan Qi masters attacking them, they didn't know if they could resist. Only Yang Kai was smiling lightly as he stared at the old man with contempt and ridicule. Kong. A fire dragon suddenly burst out from the high platform and flew towards the old man's group. It was unknown who had taken the initiative to attack. The high platform covered by the true Yang Yuan Qi's defensive barrier had now become the only place to save their lives. No one wanted to give it up, so with the old man acting so overbearingly, naturally some people couldn't hold themselves back. In the next moment, a variety of martial skills and artifacts were unleashed. The group of people around the old man didn't dare to show weakness and also return the favor. However, after only one round of confrontation, the people on the high platform saw that the situation was not good. All of their attacks had been intercepted by the old man, an immortal ascension boundary master. Although the old man had expended a lot of effort to intercept them, he had still managed to do so. On the other hand, the attacks from the Yuan Qi cultivators behind the old man had caused the people on the high platform to panic. For a moment, everyone's faces went pale. With an immortal ascension boundary master blocking the front, even if they wanted to kill the people behind them, they wouldn't be able to. In a short time, the evil spirit spring had risen again and was about to swallow up the group of people. The four young men beside the old man and the free and unfettered sect disciples also used every ounce of strength they had, desperately pushing their true qi to the limit as they launched a fierce attack. As for the old man himself, his eagle-like eyes were locked onto Yang Kai. His intuition told him that this mysterious young man was very strange and definitely had some unknown means. If it were any other time, he would have carefully probed this young man to prevent himself from capsizing, but at this critical moment, how could he have the leisure to do so? Waving his hand, a huge palm print shot towards Yang Kai, intending to kill Yang Kai in one fell swoop. Yang Kai coldly snorted and pointed his finger forward, summoning a blood-red shield in front of him. Kong. The palm print slammed into the Yang liquid shield, instantly shattering it, but it still managed to block the old man's blow. Not waiting for the old man to attack again, Yang Kai's mind suddenly burst forth with an invisible energy, silently bypassing the old man's shield and flashing into the crowd behind him. The old man's expression changed. In that instant, he seemed to be aware of the power of his divine sense. Before he could figure out what was going on, behind him, a purple halo suddenly exploded. The burst of light formed a fan shape, enveloping the four young disciples of the old man and the free and unfettered sect disciples. As the silent attack spread out, those true element boundary experts suddenly became dazed, and their faces contorted in pain. Immediately after that, another burst of light exploded. A third burst. Yuqing clutched his head, the piercing pain making it impossible for him to circulate his Yuan Qi, causing him to fall headfirst into the pool of evil spirit spring. As his body fell into the evil spirit spring, a series of sizzling sounds rang out, and at a rate visible to the naked eye, Yuqing's clothes and flesh were quickly corroded, leaving behind only white bones. In addition to Yuqing, the free and unfettered sect disciples and the old man's four juniors also suffered a similar blow. Several of them fell down with Yuqing while the rest were directly dismembered by the evil spirits. In the blink of an eye, the old man was the only one left in his camp, and from the looks of it, he seemed to have suffered some injuries. Dang. The old man hurriedly retreated a few steps, a look of horror on his face as he stared at Yang Kai, his voice trembling as he muttered, "Soul skill." Yang Kai's lips curled upwards as a brilliant smile appeared on his face. How is this possible? The old man's expression was one of utter disbelief, unable to believe what he was seeing. This was just a Yuan Qi 6th-stage cultivator. How could he display a soul skill? Moreover, this soul skill was quite familiar. It was clearly the same one used by the soul-type evil spirit just now, but the scope of the attack had been slightly altered by this young man. It's a soul skill. Yang Kai stared at the old man provocatively. I obtained it from that source just now. Old man, you're dead. Impossible. The old man's expression was somewhat ferocious. Although the three halos just now had not seriously injured him, his divine sense had been somewhat damaged, and the pain in his head was still lingering. Even if you can comprehend a soul skill from that source, without cultivating your divine sense, you can't display it. Saying so, the old man's eyes lit up again as he stared at Yang Kai in disbelief. Could it be that that source just now allowed you to cultivate your divine sense? Let's just assume so. Yang Kai chuckled, not bothering to explain. His divine sense had long since been cultivated, and Yang Kai's current spiritual energy was quite strong. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to display 3 soul skills in a row and still be so calm. Even a master who had just broken through to the immortal ascension boundary couldn't display 3 soul skills in a row. On the high platform, everyone stared at Yang Kai in surprise. None of them had expected that at this critical moment, Yang Kai would once again turn the tide. The time they had been in contact with Yang Kai hadn't been long, but in this short period of time, Yang Kai had displayed one after another incredible means, repeatedly creating miracles. Everyone knew that if they hadn't encountered Yang Kai on this trip to the evil cavern, they would have likely died several times over. Not to mention this life-saving grace, Yang Kai's strange and powerful strength was enough to make everyone secretly decide to befriend him and not have any conflicts with him in the future. The old man stared at the evil spirit spring below with a pained expression. The 4 juniors he had tried so hard to protect had all fallen just now, so naturally his hatred for Yang Kai had reached a boiling point. Hesitating for a moment, the old man suddenly turned around and walked away, muttering, "Little brat, you better live well, this old master will one day skin you alive." Even if Yang Kai had mastered a soul skill, the old man wasn't afraid of him. What the old man was afraid of was the rapidly rising evil spirit spring below. Unable to quickly occupy the high platform, the old man could only try to escape and see if he could escape with his life. "You want to run? Do you think you can?" Yang Kai coldly shouted, directly leaping off the high platform, quickly chasing after the old man, his figure leaping up, his divine sense flashing in his mind, but this time it was somewhat different from the previous one. Condensed into a single point, it transformed into a purple streak of light and shot towards the old man's head. This was also a soul skill obtained from the soul-type evil spirit, but the previous one was a large area of effect attack while this one was a single target attack. The two had some similarities, but the methods used were different. The old man obviously hadn't expected Yang Kai to have this kind of skill and was caught off guard by the purple streak of light. His body trembled as he fell, half of his body falling into the evil spirit spring. Chapter 345. The old man screamed as he desperately pushed his yuan qi to resist the demonic qi invading his body. But no matter how hard he tried, the strange ink-like aura continued to spread. Even now, it was still rapidly spreading to his body. The old man's courage was completely shattered, and he used all his strength to try and climb up, but there seemed to be a huge suction force coming from the evil spirit spring water, as if there was a giant invisible hand pulling him down towards the bottom. It was like he had inadvertently fallen into a swamp, and the more he tried, the faster he fell. Yang Kai took this opportunity to fly above the old man's head. Using both of his palms, Yang Kai fiercely struck out with the momentum of a mountain. Yang Kai used his Burning Sun's 3-layer blast and soul skill at the same time. Yang Kai sent out a series of palm prints, each of which contained a faint purple glow. Yang Kai was determined to kill him. The old man's immortal ascension boundary 5th stage strength was like a tiger in a cage. Unable to display his full strength, the old man was forced into the evil spirit spring by Yang Kai. A shrill scream rang out. Vaguely, one could see the old man struggling and resisting under the ink-like spring water. However, he was unable to break free from the shackles of the evil energy in the spring water. He sank deeper and deeper, and gradually disappeared. After a short while, the old man's voice also disappeared as he died a violent death. Yang Kai's expression also became somewhat ugly. He hadn't expected this evil spirit spring to be so powerful that even an immortal ascension boundary master couldn't break free from it. When he used the evil spirit qi in his unyielding golden skeleton, he could swim freely in the evil spirit spring, but if anyone else fell into it, Yang Kai was afraid they would end up no different from free and unfettered sect. On the high platform, Xinjiang Yuan Qi's defensive barrier, would it be able to withstand it? Glancing over at the old man with some worry, Yang Kai quickly withdrew. After using his spiritual energy so many times, he was indeed tired and weak, but Yang Kai still didn't show the slightest sign of it. Landing back on the high platform, everyone held their breath as they stared at him, seemingly unable to believe that an immortal Ascension Boundary 5th Stage Master had been killed by him. Although everyone knew, it wasn't Yang Kai's own ability, but rather his reliance on the evil spirit spring, but even so, it was still shocking enough. Ahem. It looks like we're the only ones left here, Shin Yi coughed lightly, drawing everyone's attention. Yeah, they're all dead. Lung Shan looked at the empty platform on the other side, feeling like she was in a dream. Ghost King Valley had offended free and unfettered sect this time, so she was worried about being punished by her master when she returned, but she hadn't expected that Yu Qing and the others would all die, a result she was quite happy to see. No one from the free and unfettered sect had returned alive, so naturally none of them knew what had happened here. It's up! Tao Yang shouted as he stared outside with a heavy expression. At this moment, the evil spirit spring outside once again erupted, and the swelling water quickly covered the high platform, quickly rising several dozen feet, filling the entire evil cavern. They turned their heads and looked around. Other than the high platform, they were surrounded by spring water. The dark water blocked out all light. It was as if they were hiding in a bubble at the bottom of the sea. Through the defensive barrier, one could occasionally see some evil spirits wandering in the spring water. Everyone couldn't help rejoicing in their hearts. Fortunately, they hadn't rashly left the high platform just now, otherwise, they would have been swallowed up by this spring water before they could escape. See la la. When the spring water came into contact with the true Yang Yuan Qi defensive barrier, there was a burst of explosive sounds as the two opposing energies collided, rapidly consuming each other's energy. For a time, everyone's mood became tense as they stared at the defensive barrier. In this case, if the defensive barrier broke, with the exception of Yang Kai, everyone else would die. Dong dong. The sound coming from the evil spirit spring became more and more intense, causing the heartbeat of everyone on the high platform to involuntarily quicken. All of them were on tenterhooks, not knowing what was about to happen. Poo. The sound of something breaking rang out. Zhao Rong of Treasure Instrument Sect screamed, her beautiful face going pale. It seems the first layer of the defensive barrier has been broken. Is that true? Cheng Ying's face also went green. How long had it been since the first layer of the defensive barrier had been destroyed? At this rate, in less than a stick of incense worth of time, the high platform would no longer be safe. It's true, I saw it, Zhao Rong cried out. Sometimes, death wasn't that scary. A sudden sword strike could end a person's life before they could even feel it. What was terrible was the feeling of waiting for death, the endless torment of anxiety and fear. It made one feel like a year. What if it all breaks? Cheng Ying asked with a sad face. Don't jinx it. Lung Shan scolded. Immediately, everyone turned their heads and stared at Yang Kai. It was as if they thought he could still create another miracle and turn the tide. Yang Kai sniffed and said, I can still condense such a defensive barrier. Everyone's face lit up with joy and Chinny couldn't help but laugh. I knew Brother Yang definitely had some tricks up his sleeve, huh? Now there's no need to worry. Hiding inside the defensive barrier was extremely safe. Besides feeling a little scared, there was nothing else to worry about. Tao Yang frowned slightly. Looking at Yang Kai thoughtfully, he quickly asked, Brother Yang, how many more layers can you condense? Yang Kai checked the yang liquid inside the dantian and said lightly, 50 layers is fine. Tao Yang sucked in a breath of cold air. He stared at Yang Kai like he was some kind of monster. The amount of Yuan Qi contained in this defensive barrier was already enormous, 50 layers. Tao Yang almost couldn't imagine how Yang Kai had so much Yuan Qi in his body. But immediately, his brow wrinkled again and he said worriedly, the key is when this spring water will disappear. Even if Brother Yang does his best, I'm afraid he can only maintain it for half an hour. If the spring water is still there after half an hour, then, Yang Kai also frowned, this was what he was afraid of. Although he didn't need to worry about his own safety, the Hu's sisters were still here. He couldn't just stand by and watch them die without doing anything. They were a pair of twin sisters. When Yang Kai was still weak, they had been good to him. Yang Kai also cherished their friendship. He said 50 layers, but that was the most conservative estimate. When that time came, he would do whatever it took to bring the Hu sisters out. He would wrap them in his own yuan qi and not let them get hurt. The reason why he was still here was that Yang Kai wanted to do his best. After all, he had a good relationship with the Ghost King Valley and Treasure Instrument sect. He was just one person, so he couldn't take care of so many people. Although he was a bit selfish in this crisis, he could only take care of those he was familiar with. For a time, everyone on the high platform was a little worried and uneasy. Hu Mei Er quietly glanced at Yang Kai, but there was no trace of worry on her face. She just leaned towards him. Hu Jiao Er noticed her sister's small movement and just smiled bitterly, glancing away. Right, do you have any news about my Grand Master? Worrying wasn't a good idea, so Yang Kai simply stopped thinking about the current situation and stood next to Hu Mei Er, quietly asking her about the sect. Your Grand Master? Hu Mei Er looked at him in surprise, but because the distance was too close, she quickly averted her eyes. Ling Tai Su. Hu Mei Er nodded, her brow wrinkling slightly as she thought for a moment. We don't know. I only know that one night, a great battle broke out in your High Heaven Pavilion. It seems that the central capital's Chiu family brought people to cause trouble. The battle lasted for a long time, and I heard from my father that Sect Master Ling seemed to have broken through to the above immortal ascension boundary. Sect Master Ling is really amazing. What was the result of that battle? Yang Kai asked anxiously. It seemed to be a draw. Sect Master Ling was very strong, and with the assistance of the 4 elders, the central capital's Chiu family masters were all repelled, but since then, Sect Master Ling and the others have disappeared. That's good. Yang Kai couldn't help feeling relieved. Although he knew that his Grand Master wouldn't have any accidents, after all, he hadn't heard any news about him for so long, so he couldn't help feeling a little worried. But because of your High Heaven Pavilion's involvement, our Blood Battle Gang and Storm Hall's people were unlucky enough to die. Hu Mei Er glared at Yang Kai, seemingly angry but also happy. Her tone didn't contain the slightest trace of blame. What happened? The Demon Lord came from your High Heaven Pavilion, and the central capital's Chiu family also sent people who were repelled by you. Moreover, the Chiu family seems to have lost an important figure who has yet to be heard from. Those people were very overbearing and even put the blame on our Blood Battle Gang and Storm Hall. Our 2 sects were forced to participate in the encirclement of the Ash-Gray Cloud Evil Land in order to prove our innocence. That's why my sister and I ended up here. Hu Mei Er explained softly. Listening to her, Yang Kai understood why the 2 sisters had appeared in the Ash-Gray Cloud Evil Land. They must have been dragged here to fight and ended up separated from the rest of the group. Unfamiliar with this place, the deeper they went, the more they encountered that group of scum from the free and unfettered sect, forcing them to enter the evil cavern. I'm just joking with you, I don't blame your High Heaven Pavilion, those people were unreasonable. Hu Mei Er saw Yang Kai's silence and thought he was a bit angry, so she couldn't help feeling a bit flustered. Yang Kai's face was a bit gloomy, quickly changing the subject. What about Su Yan? Have you heard any news about her recently? Hu Mei Er obviously didn't know that Su Yan and the others had passed through the Void Corridor and were now 10,000 kilometers away. Shaking her head, your High Heaven Pavilion no longer has anyone. After the Chiu family's important figure went missing, those invading masters burned down the entire High Heaven Pavilion. Now it's a ruin. Taking a deep breath, Kai Yang said in a deep voice, I understand. You, don't worry. Hu Mei Er saw Yang Kai's ugly expression and didn't know how to comfort him, instead taking the initiative to take his hand and gently squeeze it. Yang Kai glanced at her in surprise. Hu Mei Er lowered her head and didn't say anything, thinking that maybe she would die soon, but in any case, she wouldn't let go. It wasn't like she hadn't been presumptuous in front of him before. In the past, she had been quite bold in seducing him, but after cultivating the twin chi shared spirit divine art, her temperament had been greatly affected by her sister and was no longer as unrestrained as before. Chapter 346. Time had never passed so slowly. Under the pressure of death, Everyone was nervous and their hearts were racing. Everyone's eyes were also constantly focused on the situation of the true Yang Yuan Qi defensive barrier. Every time a layer of the barrier was broken, it seemed to make everyone's heart turn cold. As time passed, the 20 layers of the barrier were completely broken. Yang Kai had quickly condensed a new barrier to protect everyone, making everyone feel extremely grateful. In the surrounding evil spirit spring, there were constantly evil spirits flying around and huge bubbles rising from the bottom. The temperature quickly dropped. The group of people here were all Yuan Qi cultivators, and with Yuan Qi protecting their bodies, the cold could not affect them at all. But now, those with slightly lower strength had their hair covered in white frost and were shivering while hugging their arms. Even the breath they exhaled was a white mist. Even those with higher strength could not resist. Everyone present, except for Yang Kai who was indifferent to the cold, no one could ignore it. The surrounding evil spirit spring seemed to contain a cold that penetrated deep into the soul, eroding everyone's warmth at this moment. Dong dong. The movement from the evil spirit spring continued without stopping, and at this moment it was already quite strong, with each vibration causing the high platform to jump several times. Pa pa pa. The surrounding huge bubbles burst one after another, releasing a variety of evil spirits that were both dangerous and gloomy. The true Yang Yuan Qi defensive barrier was still bursting layer after layer, and Yang Kai's expression gradually became heavy. After a while, suddenly, a series of muffled sounds like a war drum came from the evil spirit spring. After the sound, all the movement disappeared. Everyone was startled and looked at each other with a blank expression. Before they could figure out what was going on, an extremely cold and dense energy suddenly came from the other side. This cold and gloomy was like the cold wind blowing from a snowy mountain that had not melted for 10,000 years, but also like the ghost wind blowing from the 9 hells of purgatory. Everyone couldn't help but shudder at the thought. Kacha. The true Yang Yuan Qi defensive barrier covering the high platform was covered with a layer of ice, a scene that shocked everyone present. He couldn't help but be incomparably shocked. The cold energy and the evil energy were both grinding away at the true Yang Yuan Qi's defensive barrier, causing it to disappear at twice the speed. No way! Cheng Ying opened his mouth wide, his eyes filled with bitterness. Originally, they were already on tenterhooks, and it was already difficult enough for them to resist. Now that such a change had occurred in their surroundings, it was clear that they were not going to be given a way out. As soon as he finished speaking, the surrounding evil Qi spring water suddenly rushed towards a certain direction. Even the evil spirits swimming in it were unable to escape. It was as if a huge vortex had appeared over there, swallowing everything in the evil cavern. Countless sharp howls were heard as the numerous evil spirits struggled. Even the people on the high platform were affected by the suction force. Fortunately, they were all inside the defensive barrier and were not sucked in by the evil Qi. He only slightly activated his Yuan Qi. This counteracted the suction force. What happened? Chen Yi frowned as he stared in that direction, only to see that not far from where the evil spirit spring used to be, there was a cold light. This light was not considered bright, but it was able to shine through the ink-like spring water. Evil spirit essence. The evil spirit essence contained in the spring. It was the treasure that the old man had wanted before. Unfortunately, he had died before he could see the evil spirit essence appear. Everything was converging towards the evil spirit origin. It was like a heart, letting out thumping sounds as it absorbed energy and gradually recovered. Slowly the light disappeared. It seemed to have been blocked by the spring water. Pa. Layer after layer of the true Yang defensive barrier quickly broke apart. Yang Kai stared towards the source of the light and was preparing to use another 20 drops of Yang liquid to condense the defensive barrier when Leng Shan suddenly shouted in surprise, "The spring water is receding." Hearing this, everyone was overjoyed and followed her gaze to the side. Sure enough, they saw some light coming from the side. This was the light that belonged to the evil cavern. The spring water that filled the entire area was quickly flowing towards the spring's mouth, naturally emptying the area. The heavens helped the worthy. Chen Yi was overjoyed. He had thought that this time it would really be difficult to escape, but at the last moment, the spring water was actually being sucked back in. According to this trend, it wouldn't be long before all the spring water around the high platform disappeared. Yang Kai frowned and quickly said, "Once it's safe, leave immediately. I'm afraid something big is about to happen." "What do you mean?" Leng Shan was startled. "Something big is taking shape." Yang Kai's expression sank as he stared in the direction of the spring's mouth. The others did not have a divine sense and could only feel the huge energy fluctuations coming from the spring's mouth, but Yang Kai could feel them more clearly than anyone else. The nearby spring water, as well as the evil spirits that had not yet died, were all being sucked in and transformed into a kind of evil energy that was slowly condensing. With the evil spirit essence emerging from the spring's mouth as the core, it was slowly forming a body. With such a huge amount of energy gathered, this new thing was likely terrifying to the extreme. A moment later, the surrounding spring water finally receded. "Let's go!" Yang Kai shouted, and everyone immediately leapt off the high platform and flew towards the exit. Finally having a chance to escape, whether it was Ghost King Valley or Treasure Instrument Sect, all of them ran faster than a rabbit, hating that they were born with 2 more legs. Yuan Qi fiercely urged herself to use her movement skills and even some auxiliary artifacts, only wanting to get away from this dangerous place as quickly as possible. Yang Kai's speed was very fast, so he took the lead and flew in front of everyone. Beside him were the 2 Hu sisters. The 2 sisters seemed to have used some kind of mysterious technique, but Yuan Qi seemed to be connected to each other as she effortlessly followed behind Yang Kai. After flying for more than 10 kilometers, a loud roar suddenly rang out from behind them. This roar shook the entire evil cavern, as if a long-imprisoned beast had been released and was finally able to see the light of day again. Immediately afterwards, a huge wave of qi hit them from behind. If they hadn't been so far away, they would have been swept away by this wave of qi. Perceiving the terror of this unknown force, everyone paled and increased the force of their feet. This kind of hurrying was naturally extremely fast. "Over there, the exit is over there." Cheng Ying had always been in charge of scouting the terrain, so he was more familiar with the terrain of the evil cavern than anyone else. Following the direction he pointed, Yang Kai really saw a ray of light a few kilometers away. Quickly turning around, he led everyone in that direction. Everyone couldn't help breathing a sigh of relief, wishing they could immediately escape from the evil cavern. However, just as they were about 2 kilometers away from the exit, several immortal ascension boundary masters suddenly flew over. Yang Kai's eyes narrowed as he secretly became vigilant. These immortal ascension boundary masters all exuded thick demonic qi and a ghostly aura. Needless to say, they were definitely not good people. With such a big change occurring inside the evil cavern, it wasn't surprising that nearby immortal ascension boundary masters would be attracted here, but what made Yang Kai depressed was that these masters were actually flying towards him, obviously wanting to investigate the situation inside the evil cavern. The distance between the 2 sides was rapidly narrowing, but the immortal ascension boundary masters didn't put Yang Kai's group in their eyes. Before they even arrived, the leader of this group shouted, "You over there, stop for this old master." Hearing this, everyone's hearts sank and their faces filled with displeasure. Just as they were about to escape, suddenly being blocked like this, anyone would feel uncomfortable. "They're the Demon King's subordinates." Leng Shan's expression changed greatly as she whispered to Yang Kai, "These 4 are all immortal ascension boundary 7th or 8th stage masters. We can't beat them." She was afraid that Yang Kai didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth and would offend these 4 masters, so she hurriedly warned him. Moreover, these 4 were the real evildoers. The evil deeds they had committed were too numerous to be recorded. Even in the ash-gray cloud evil land, these 4 were quite loathsome existences. However, the 4 of them were proficient in joint attacks, so even if they were only immortal ascension boundary 7th or 8th stage masters, they could still contend with a peak immortal ascension boundary master, so even if they had enemies all over the world, they still lived a comfortable life. What's more, the 4 of them were also the profound Ghost King's trusted subordinates. Their tempers were unruly, so if they were displeased, it was possible they could kill everyone here in a single blow. Yang Kai naturally understood the depths of this situation, so when he heard the old man's shout, he hurriedly stopped. Although he was extremely anxious in his heart, there was nothing he could do. The four old men flew forward side by side. They wore clothes of similar styles, but different colors. The different colors represented their identities. Demon King, green, yellow and purple. The blue-robed old man stared at Yang Kai's group with a dignified expression and asked, "Who are you? Do you know what's going on here?" Yang Kai frowned and said lightly, "We are from Ghost King Valley and have been here for life experience, so we don't know what's going on." "You don't know?" The blue-robed old man coldly snorted, apparently seeing that Yang Kai was lying. Why bother talking nonsense with him? Just take him and ask him on the way. The green-robed old man frowned. The blue-robed old man nodded, his figure leaping over to Yang Kai's side. The yuan qi in Yang Kai's body instinctively reacted, but he quickly suppressed it. Facing an immortal ascension boundary 7th or 8th stage master, everyone here couldn't win even if they put their lives on the line, let alone 4 of them. Acting rashly would only make things worse. The blue-robed old man easily lifted Yang Kai up and didn't seal his cultivation. Seemingly very confident in his strength, the blue-robed old man's figure flickered as he rushed inside. "You go first. When I come out, I'll find you." Kai Yang only had time to shout out to the crowd before the blue-robed old man carried him away and disappeared from sight. Yang Kai, the Hu sisters' beautiful faces suddenly went pale. They were so close to escaping from the evil cavern, so how could something like this happen here? Chapter 347. The blue-robed old man grabbed Yang Kai and quickly rushed towards the interior of the evil cavern, the other 3 following closely behind. The green-robed old man glanced back with a smile, his eyes full of interest. Suddenly, he waved his hand and 2 green lights flew back like spirit snakes coming out of a cave. The Hu sisters had only just shouted when their delicate bodies were hit by these green streaks of light. Immediately after, the 2 sisters simultaneously turned green. This unforeseen event caused them to be stunned on the spot. Hurriedly inspecting themselves, they discovered that they had not suffered any injuries and their true qi circulation was not hindered in any way. Lung Shan's complexion changed greatly as she cried out in alarm, "Tarsal bone shadow." The Ghost King Valley disciples all turned to look at the Hu sisters again, their eyes filled with sympathy. "What do you mean, what is that?" Hu Jiao asked in a deep voice. Lung Shan's face was extremely ugly, and she was worried. After hesitating for a while, she opened her mouth to explain, "Demons and monsters, one of them is wearing a green robe. This person likes women, so I'm afraid you've been targeted by him. This Tarsus shadow is his unique skill. Once he hits you, he can sense your location at all times. He can even use this skill to affect your mind and make you surrender and listen to him obediently." The Hu sisters' beautiful faces suddenly went pale. Moreover, the color on your body is also a sign of this skill. As long as you go outside, anyone who sees this color will know you've been hit by the tarsal bone shadow. After a pause, Lung Shan continued, "Right now he's going inside to investigate the situation, so he can't split himself up. That's why he left this tarsal bone shadow technique on you. As soon as he finishes his business inside, he'll definitely come looking for you. Even if he doesn't go in person, someone will capture you and give you to him in order to gain his favor. You're in big trouble." Chen Yi also said solemnly. "Is there any way to break this skill?" Hu Jiao asked coldly. "Even an immortal ascension boundary 9th stage master may not be able to break this skill. Unless we kill him or find someone stronger." Lung Shan bit her lip. Hearing her say this, the Hu sisters' hearts suddenly sank to the bottom. Yang Kai didn't know about the Hu sisters' situation. However, the 2 beams of green light and the obscene light in the eyes of the green-robed old man were clearly seen by him. The look in Yang Kai's eyes suddenly became much colder. The other 3 people seemed to have become accustomed to this small action of the green-robed old man. Their expressions didn't even change. There was no need to talk about it. The few of them just kept flying inside. The flight speed of an immortal ascension boundary master was extremely fast, so it took Yang Kai a long time to reach the cave entrance, but after a short while he was brought back. After returning to the two high platforms not far away, Qi Mei and Wang Liang narrowed their eyes and looked forward with a solemn expression. At this moment, the evil spirit spring water had completely receded and in its place was a dark cocoon-like object. On the cocoon, lines that looked like the veins of a human body were crisscrossing, and an indescribable amount of energy was flowing inside them. The entire cocoon was 40 to 50 feet tall. It was incomparably enormous, and its entire body emitted a ghastly and icy cold feeling. The strands of seemingly material evil devil chi seemed to have transformed into numerous tentacles that swam and fluttered outside the cocoon. It was a terrifying sight to behold. Asterisk dong dong. Asterisk a strong throbbing sound came from inside the cocoon, accompanied by a powerful wave of energy that could affect one's soul and divine sense, sweeping across the area where Qi Mei and Yang Kai were standing. The blue-robed old man carrying Yang Kai's expression changed slightly as he quickly formed a few hand seals and stretched out his hand in front of him. This time, he managed to block the attack. What is this? The yellow-robed old man's expression became extremely heavy as he stared at the cocoon, a look of confusion on his face. The four of them had profound strength, were not young, and were quite knowledgeable. Although they could feel a huge pressure coming from the cocoon in front of them and knew that the thing inside was definitely not to be trifled with, none of them could recognize what it was. Such a rich demonic chi was visible to the naked eye. In all their lives, the four of them had only ever seen this from a single person. That was the recently born Demon Lord. A few months ago, when the four of them followed the profound Yin Ghost King to see the Demon Lord, they had the privilege of witnessing the Demon Lord's glory. The Demon Lord's demonic chi had already transcended the level of evil. The profound Yin Ghost King had said that this was a demon. A real demon. In front of a demon, all demonic chi was just a small matter. Little brat, I will ask you one last time, do you know what happened here? If you dare say you don't know, this old master will imprison you here and let you fend for yourself. If you tell me, this old master will let you live. The blue-robed old man put down Yang Kai and looked at him indifferently. Yang Kai's expression was calm as he glanced at the old man before frowning. This is something hidden in the evil spirit spring. Evil spirit spring? Qi, Mei, Wang, and Liang's expressions changed, and the voice of the green-robed old man suddenly rose by a lot. The four words evil spirit spring were undoubtedly very attractive to them. Yang Kai nodded and didn't conceal anything, quickly recounting what had happened just now. The more the four old men listened, the more excited they became, their eyes blazing, their original fear of the big cocoon slowly replaced by greed, all of them staring towards it with gleaming eyes. After Yang Kai finished speaking, the four old men's breathing became somewhat unstable. What do we do? The other three looked nervously and expectantly towards the blue-robed old man, waiting for him to make a decision. The blue-robed old man's heart was obviously also filled with turmoil. The evil spirit spring rarely appeared, but every time it did, it would bring with it a treasure that many immortal ascension boundary masters desperately fought over. But this time, the evil spirit spring had actually bred such a treasure, something that far exceeded their knowledge and understanding. The blue-robed old man didn't know if he should gamble his life here. We're not far from breaking through to the immortal ascension boundary 9th stage, but we haven't been able to find a suitable energy source. If we miss this opportunity, who knows how long we'll have to wait. The purple-robed old man obviously wanted to take a risk, his expression eager. The green-robed old man and yellow-robed old man nodded at the same time, agreeing with what the purple-robed old man said. Since all three of them had such intentions, the blue-robed old man couldn't act arbitrarily. What's more, he himself was also inclined to take a risk, it was just that he had some scruples in his heart. After a moment of silence, the blue-robed old man's eyes flashed and his expression became firm, quickly declaring, "Then let's do it." Saying so, he casually tossed Yang Kai about 1,000 meters away. Before he hit the ground, Yang Kai felt a tyrannical force suddenly erupt from his body. This force was filled with all kinds of sinister malice, and even though Xinjiang Yuan Qi tried to counterattack, he was still unable to offset it. With a few cracking sounds, several of his bones broke, causing him to vomit a mouthful of blood midair. When he finally landed, Yang Kai was completely motionless, his face as white as a sheet of gold. The blue-robed old man suddenly laughed. "Ha ha, this old master is a man of his word, I'll let you live." Yang Kai glared towards the old man with resentment, his eyes filled with hatred and coldness. How could the blue-robed old man let him live? If it weren't for the Zhenyang Yuan Qi in his body being pure and vigorous enough, that sneak attack just now would have been enough to defeat Yang Kai's Dantian, completely crippling his cultivation and reducing him to an ordinary person. For an ordinary person without strength to stay here, there was no other end but death. Fortunately, they were far enough away that the blue-robed old man didn't know that Yang Kai's cultivation hadn't been crippled. If he were to learn of this, with this old man's vicious nature, he would likely immediately kill him. Not daring to show the slightest neglect, Yang Kai quickly sat down cross-legged to meditate, at the same time reaching out and dipping a drop of myriad drug liquid into his mouth to neutralize its medicinal efficacies. A moment later, the sound of a fierce battle rang out. The strength of the Qi Mei and Wang Liang was profound, and when the four of them joined forces, they could be called invincible in the immortal ascension boundary. At this moment, they were fiercely attacking the giant cocoon. A roar came from inside the cocoon, as if something had broken free from its shackles. Immediately, the blue-robed old man's frightened and surprised cry rang out. "Sure enough, it's a real demon, a demon spirit." With this shout, the battle became even more intense. It was likely that whatever was inside the cocoon had been forced out by these four people and was now engaged in a fierce battle with them. For a time, the entire evil cavern was filled with gusts of cold wind as the demonic qi churned. The already dim underground cavern was now plunged into darkness, as if it had been immersed in the underworld. Yang Kai was completely focused on healing his wounds. However, under the influence of the rolling demonic qi, Yang Kai clearly felt that there was something in his body that was throbbing incessantly, even his Yuan Qi was stirring up. Slightly startled, Yang Kai quickly investigated himself, but after understanding what was causing this reaction to the demonic qi, his expression suddenly became strange. After pondering for a long time, Yang Kai slowly diverted a part of his attention to the situation over there. The scene of the battle was extremely fierce, and although Yang Kai could not see what was happening over there, from the sounds coming from the mouths of the demons and demons, he could infer that even though they had taken advantage of the fact that the demon spirit had not fully matured to force it out of the cocoon, the four of them were still unable to gain any advantage and were instead forced to retreat. The strength of the demon spirit was far beyond their imagination. But in a battle between masters, even if they felt something was wrong, they would not be able to escape in a short time, so they could only grit their teeth and hold on, each of them displaying 10 to 20% of their strength. As time passed, Yang Kai's injuries quickly healed. Suddenly, an earth-shattering roar came from the other side. It seemed that Mo Ling had suffered a great loss. At the same time, the other four people exclaimed in unison. Among them, two of them stopped abruptly. It was very short and hurried. Yang Kai's eyes lit up, his heart filled with joy. "Let's go!" The green-clothed old man's shout rang out. He was rather flustered and also somewhat exhausted. Immediately afterwards, the sound of two people's robes fluttering could be heard. Obviously, the two people who were still alive were hurriedly fleeing. The demon spirit did not chase after them, just staying in place and letting out an unwilling roar. Yang Kai suddenly got up, his eyes overflowing with light, his mood fluctuating. The thing in his body was still throbbing, more violently than before, as if urging him to hurry. After hesitating for a moment, Yang Kai took large strides and quickly walked in the direction of the demon spirit. Chapter 348. More than a dozen kilometers away, Ghost King Valley, Treasure Instrument Sect, and the Hu sisters were quickly returning. "Why did you all follow us?" Hu Jiao asked with a wry smile as she ran with her sister. Then why did you come back? Leng Shan didn't answer. Our relationship with him is different. Hu Jiao replied, but as soon as she spoke, she immediately attracted a lot of attention. Realizing the ambiguity in her words, she quickly added, "We've known each other for a long time. Blood Battle Gang and High Heaven Pavilion are close neighbors." Listening to her, everyone understood why Yang Kai seemed so close to them before. It turned out that there was such a relationship between them. If we go back, it's very likely we'll die. Hu Jiao's voice became heavy. Leng Shan curled her lips. That's you, we're all from Ghost King Valley, under the jurisdiction of the profound Yin Ghost King. Those monsters won't necessarily try to kill us. Chen Yi nodded. That's right, Brother Tao, you shouldn't get involved in this mess. Tao Yang smiled lightly. We're from Treasure Instrument Sect, so we won't die. As long as those 4 old fogies still have some sense, they'll know our value. Hu Jiao was speechless for a while. How could she not know that this group of people were just finding excuses for themselves? In fact, they just wanted to help. After all, Yang Kai had saved them time and time again. Now that Yang Kai was in trouble, if they just left, they wouldn't be able to get over their conscience. But in the face of those 4 great masters, what was the use of these people? Ants trying to shake a tree. As they were running away, suddenly, an earth-shaking roar came from the other side. Then, the green light on the Hu sisters' bodies suddenly collapsed and disappeared. The group of people hurriedly stopped and stared at them in surprise. What happened? Hu Jiao looked puzzled. Didn't you say that unless that old fogey died, the tarsal bone shadow would break? Everyone was startled. Suddenly thinking of something, all of them looked aghast. How could that be? How long has it been? Chen Yi couldn't believe it. Less than half an hour had passed. How could that old fogey have died? But if that wasn't the case, why did the tarsal bone shadow on the Hu sisters suddenly disappear? Those 4, after joining forces, were invincible in the immortal ascension boundary. What kind of danger had they encountered? Why did he lose his life in such a short time? Shwa shwa, 2 silhouettes flew in front of them. Everyone quickly raised their guard and looked up. They saw 2 of the demons and monsters from before quickly approaching them. One was the green-robed old man who had captured Yang Kai, and the other was the purple-robed old man. The yellow-robed old man was no longer among them. Moreover, these 2 people were no longer as arrogant and overbearing as before. At this moment, their faces were pale, and dark red blood flowed out from the corners of their mouths. Many pitch-black auras surrounded their bodies. These auras were like poisonous snakes, coiling around their bodies, making them look exceptionally terrifying. Both of them were severely injured. One of the green-robed old man's arms was dangling by his side, clearly broken. As for the purple-clothed elder's abdomen, there were 5 bloody holes, which looked like they had been caused by someone's fingers. As he ran, bright red blood flowed out, sprinkling all the way. Not seeing any trace of Yang Kai, everyone's hearts sank. These 2 looked panicked. They passed over everyone's heads like a whirlwind, not even sparing them a glance. It was as if they had been greatly frightened. The 2 fleeing and panicked expressions of these 2 made everyone's hearts feel even more gloomy. For people had gone in, and within half an hour, 2 had died while the other 2 had fled with serious injuries. The danger over there was not something this group of young people could touch. If they continued to go deeper, they were afraid they would die without a doubt. Moreover, whether Yang Kai was still alive was unknown. It was very likely that Yang Kai had already died. Elder sister, Hu Mei softly called out, looking towards the inside with a firm expression. Hu Jiao nodded with a cold expression, not saying a word, and together with her younger sister, the 2 of them rushed in like bolts of lightning. The Ghost King Valley and Treasure Instrument Sect disciples glanced at each other before following without hesitation. Yang Kai condensed his yuan qi, his pace neither fast nor slow, cautiously and boldly approaching the battlefield. Not long after, the bodies of the green-robed old man and the yellow-robed old man came into view. Seeing their state of death, Yang Kai couldn't help narrowing his eyes. Although these 2 people's individual strength wasn't top-notch, only Immortal Ascension Boundary 7th or 8th stage, Leng Shan had said that the four of them together were very powerful. The so-called demon spirit being able to break through their joint attack in a short time and kill two of them in one fell swoop showed how powerful it was. The green-robed old man and the yellow-robed old man's deaths were extremely miserable. One of them had half of his body missing and died with his eyes wide open while the other was a bloody mess. Looking at their injuries, it was clear that they had been killed by the demon spirit in a single blow, not even giving them time to react. Not far away, Yang Kai heard a panting sound and quickly looked up. More than 100 feet away, an extremely burly, naked and wild-looking man was nailed to the ground by a long spear that was more than 10 feet long. The demon spirit. This was the demon spirit that had been bred from the giant cocoon and was the result of all the evil spirit spring water and the essence of hundreds of evil spirits. Unlike the demon spirit, this demon spirit had a complete body with 4 limbs and facial features, looking no different from a real person. Only streams of pitch-black aura danced around his body. Every single one of those streams of aura contained extremely terrifying energy. Perceiving the arrival of Yang Kai, the demon spirit just glanced at him faintly, the look in his eyes clearly not taking Yang Kai seriously. At the same time, the several black auras around his body directly swept towards Yang Kai. As the demonic chi surged forward, Yang Kai calmly stretched out his hand in front of him and condensed a layer of true Yang Yuan chi into a defensive barrier in front of him. Pu piu piu. The demonic chi collided with the barrier and only pushed Yang Kai back a few steps, unable to break through it. The demon spirit glanced at Yang Kai with some surprise, seemingly not having expected him to have such a skill. After being stunned for a moment, he actually grinned at Yang Kai. Immediately after, he extended a strong and powerful hand and grasped the spear that was stuck in his abdomen. As he roared, he slowly pulled the spear out of his abdomen. This spear should be the artifact of the 4 evil spirits. By relying on the power of this artifact, they had nailed the demon spirit to the ground, allowing the 2 who were still alive a chance to escape. As the spear was pulled out inch by inch, the demon spirit not only showed no expression of discomfort, but instead wore a ferocious expression of excitement. Blood flowed out of the demon spirit's mouth, but instead of being red, it was a strange purple color. Before the demon spirit could fully pull out the spear, Yang Kai had already acted. With the sound of a chain being swung, an artifact suddenly flew out from Yang Kai's body, exuding a hot and pure energy that radiated in all directions. Affected by this energy, the demon spirit's body involuntarily trembled, and the black aura wriggling around his body also shrank back. Walala. The sound of the chain in the air became clearer and clearer, and there seemed to be a mysterious power hidden within it, causing the demon spirit to feel great dread. In an instant, the chain completely unfolded, less than a meter long, with a collar at the top. The shape was simple, somewhat like a dog chain. Demon sealing chain. The artifact that Yang Kai had obtained from the bottom of the coiling dragon stream had been nourished with his true Yang Yuan chi in the Dantian until now. It had never had any effect, but this time it actually reacted on its own initiative. If it weren't for the existence of the demon sealing chain, Yang Kai would not have rushed here. The demon sealing chain was an artifact left behind by High Heaven Pavilion's ancestral founder. It was able to seal the demonic chi of the demon spirit at the bottom of the coiling dragon stream, so it was not necessarily impossible for it to seal this demon spirit. When the demon sealing chain completely appeared, the demon spirit, who had never taken Yang Kai seriously, finally panicked, his expression suddenly changing as he cried out in alarm, "Pure Yang Supreme Artifact, Demonic Chi Nemesis." While speaking, the demon spirit's hand that was holding the spear suddenly pulled it out and, ignoring his own injuries, used all his strength to throw the spear towards the demon sealing chain. With a sharp sound, the spear broke through the barrier of space almost instantly and strangely appeared in front of the demon sealing chain. However, this blow, which was powerful enough to destroy the heavens and earth, actually hit thin air. The demon sealing chain suddenly became golden and the spear penetrated it without any hindrance. The next moment, with a flash of golden light, the demon sealing chain appeared around the demon spirit's neck, wrapping around it. With a sizzling sound, The demon spirit seemed to have been doused with boiling water, his body constantly emitting white smoke. The dark demonic chi around his body was also quickly suppressed into his body. Screams rang out as the demon spirit's huge body rampaged, both hands holding the demon sealing chain, trying to break it open, but no matter how hard he tried, he could not shake it in the slightest. Instead, his hands were scorched white smoke and he screamed again and again. The demon sealing chain flickered and flickered. The dark demonic chi around the demon spirit's body was also sometimes visible and sometimes suppressed. The two were obviously in a desperate struggle. Yang Kai's face was calm as he quickly retreated, a look of surprise on his face. He did not expect this demon spirit to be able to speak. He had witnessed the formation of this demon spirit with his own eyes. It was formed from the essence of the evil spirit spring by gathering the essence of the spring water and hundreds of evil spirits. A demon spirit like this should not have any cognition. It could be said that his mind should be blank, only instincts. But he could see at a glance that the demon sealing chain was the nemesis of the demonic chi. This situation was obviously not right. Yang Kai's expression flickered, not knowing how to explain everything in front of him. The battle between the demon spirit and the demon sealing chain did not last long. In less than an incense stick's worth of time, the winner was decided between the two. The demon sealing chain completely suppressed the demon spirit's demonic chi, and the demon spirit no longer resisted, allowing his body to emit white smoke. He sat cross-legged on the ground, looking at Yang Kai with a grin. There was not the slightest panic or fear of dying, but instead a strong interest and a strange light in his eyes. "Boy, I am the demon General Mungo. You dared to hurt a strand of my soul. This king will remember you. If there is a chance in the future, this king will personally capture you and make you beg for death." Chapter 349. After the New Year's Eve, the outside world was bustling with noise and excitement. When the Hu sisters rushed over, all they saw was a scene of devastation. There were traces of a fierce battle, and on the ground, the corpses of the old men in green and yellow robes were strewn about. Her beautiful eyes darted around nervously as she saw Yang Kai standing not far away. He seemed to be holding a chain in his hand as he stood there motionless, exuding a cold and frightening energy fluctuation from his body. Schwa schwa schwa. The people from Ghost King Valley and Treasure Instrument sect also arrived one after another, and after noticing the strangeness of Yang Kai's body, all of their expressions changed, wondering what had happened to him. However, the current situation was much better than everyone had feared. At the very least, Yang Kai didn't have any obvious injuries on his body and was still exuding a strong aura of vitality. Obviously, he wasn't dead. After noticing this, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Yang Kai also felt the arrival of these people, but he was still thinking about the words the demon spirit had said before he died. It was just one sentence, but it contained a lot of information. Demon General Mangu. This was the name the demon spirit had given him. From this name, it wasn't difficult to infer that he wasn't a newly born demon spirit, but rather someone with a long history. Otherwise, he wouldn't have such a name and status. Moreover, this demon spirit seemed to be formed from a wisp of his soul. The four masters of Qi, Mei, Wang, and Liang had joined forces and fought with him for less than an incense stick worth of time. 2 of them had been killed, the other 2 had fled with serious injuries, and he had been nailed to the ground by a long spear artifact. After that, he had pulled out the spear as if nothing had happened. If a wisp of his soul was so powerful, how terrifying would it have been if his true body had come here? This person's true strength was far beyond his knowledge and understanding. Yang Kai's heart surged. Fortunately, he was a true demon and the demon sealing chain only reacted to true demons. If not for this, Yang Kai wouldn't have been able to do anything to him even after a few dozen years. After Demon General Meng Gu said those words, seemingly knowing that he didn't have much time left, he directly collapsed without hesitation. All that was left behind was a large mass of cold and surging source qi. This mass of source qi. It was the treasure hidden in the evil spirit spring. At this moment, it had been sucked into Yang Kai's meridians. The demon's sealing chain in his hand seemed to have lost its spirituality in this battle. Its entire body was dim and lusterless, no different from a piece of junk. However, Yang Kai could still sense a little bit of life force hidden within it. As long as it was nurtured properly, it would definitely be able to recover in time. After all, this was a treasure left behind by High Heaven Pavilion's founder. Although it had been there for a long time, it wouldn't be so easily damaged. Faintly sighing, Yang Kai's heart was suddenly filled with boundless lofty sentiments. Today, he had witnessed Demon General Meng Ji's elegant demeanor, and his desire to pursue the peak of martial arts was once again aroused. Gritting his teeth, Yang Kai's expression was solemn, but his eyes were still firm. Yang Kai. Seeing that he didn't speak for a long time, the Hu sisters didn't know what was going on, so they could only call out softly. "I'm fine." Yang Kai took a deep breath and put the demon's sealing chain back into his body. He turned to the crowd and said, "I want to find a place to go into seclusion. I know a suitable location. It's not far from here." Cheng Ying quickly said, "Take me there." Inside a cave in the evil cavern, Yang Kai sat down cross-legged and began to refine the energy contained in the evil spirit essence. This place was discovered by Cheng Ying by accident, and it was indeed very well hidden. Moreover, after the evil cavern went through such an unforeseen event, it had become a very dangerous place. After the evil cavern had experienced this time, there were basically no evil spirits around. The Ghost King Valley and Treasure Instrument sect disciples all knew that Yang Kai must have obtained some kind of harvest, so none of them were in a hurry to leave. Taking advantage of this free time, everyone also began to refine the evil spirit essences they had obtained. Both Ghost King Valley and Treasure Instrument sect had each obtained 2 purifying spirit essences, a total of 40 of them. Evenly divided between each of them, the amount was not small. The Hu sisters had even more, the 2 of them obtaining 5 bottles each. The 2 sisters were both very kind-hearted and originally wanted to share 1 purifying spirit bottle with each of the Ghost King Valley and Treasure Instrument sect disciples, but they were all politely refused. Both of them were very satisfied with their harvest this time, so how could they still covet the Hu sisters? After all, this was something that Yang Kai had given them. In desperation, Hu Jiao Air and Hu Mei Air no longer tried to be polite. The 2 sisters began to circulate their twin chi shared spirit divine art, allowing them to refine the evil spirit essence several times faster than others. Although they couldn't compare to Yang Kai's speed, it was still beyond the reach of ordinary people. While everyone was refining the evil spirit essences above the cave, Yang Kai was also doing the same. However, the evil spirit essences that Yang Kai was refining were somewhat different from the others. Even the essence left behind by the soul evil spirit could not be compared to this one. During the refining process, the unyielding golden skeleton pulsed rhythmically, resonating with the energy contained in the evil spirit essence. True Yang Yuan Qi completely retreated back into the Dantian while Yang Kai's whole body was wrapped in black qi, just like Demon General Meng Ji's state before. However, there were still some differences between the two. Meng Gu was obviously able to control his own strength and restrain his demonic qi, but Yang Kai couldn't. His whole body was wrapped in black qi, and only when he opened his eyes would they shine with light. A cold and demonic aura spread out, causing a series of cracking sounds to echo throughout the cave. Soon, the walls of the cave were covered in white frost, condensing into ice. The people guarding outside quickly realized that something was wrong. This cold aura had already penetrated the ground and was pushing towards them at an extremely fast speed. With a cry of alarm, everyone quickly fled 1,000 meters away before glancing back with lingering fear, only to see that on the other side of the cave, the entire world had been wrapped in a layer of ice. The moisture in the air had condensed into ice, spreading out layer by layer. It was as if this place had been frozen since ancient times. Even though they were so far away, some of the weaker ones were still shivering. Every time they recalled the cold aura that penetrated deep into their souls, they couldn't help but feel horrified. What's going on? Chen Yi was puzzled. Why do I feel that this cold aura is so similar to the one from the evil spirit spring? Previously, when they were defending the high platform. Everyone had also felt this cold aura once before, but it was far from as clear and terrifying as this one. Will Yang Kai be okay? Hu Mei Air whispered to her elder sister. Hu Jiao Air calmly shook her head. This should be the movement he made. As long as the movement is still there, nothing will happen. In fact, she herself wasn't sure, but she could only comfort her sister like this. Lung Shan nodded in agreement. Good people don't live long, but scourges live for thousands of years. I also think he will be fine. Tsk. Chen Yi smacked his lips. He looked at her mischievously. Junior sister, why do I feel that your words are so sour? Will you die if you don't speak? Lung Shan glared at him. Heh. Chen Yi suddenly laughed dryly. Inside the cave, Yang Kai's expression was indifferent, not affected by the cold aura at all. This kind of cold aura seemed to be very suitable for his current state. Not only did it not make him feel uncomfortable, but it also made him happy. In the past, when Yang Kai used the energy of the unyielding golden skeleton, the feeling he gave off was evil, but now, it was both evil and cold. The two complemented each other, complementing each other and increasing each other's tyrannical strength. Outside, the sun rose and the moon disappeared, but inside the cave, no one knew the passage of time. When the last strand of origin energy was refined, the energy contained within the origin energy seemed to have become a key. It unlocked the mysteries of the unyielding golden skeleton that had been sealed for many years. At that moment, the shackles of the unyielding golden skeleton were completely opened. A violent evil chi swarmed out, and the entire cave was instantly shrouded in darkness as the evil chi tumbled. Like a flood dragon, the roar of the evil chi never stopped. Yang Kai opened his eyes, and the scarlet in his eyes quickly receded, becoming black and white. At the same time, the various mysteries of the unyielding golden skeleton were thoroughly understood by Yang Kai. He understood everything clearly. Wrapped in the evil chi, Yang Kai's eyes shone brightly. Slightly narrowing his eyes, Yang Kai stretched out a finger and slowly touched his forehead, whispering softly like a dream. Become the demon race. In an instant, his body became a bottomless pit, crazily sucking in the dark evil chi from outside. All of the demonic chi was quite orderly, turning into visible streaks of energy that enveloped Yang Kai's body. In just a breath's time, all the dark evil chi disappeared, and in its place, Yang Kai's body was covered in black lines. These lines were densely packed, and in a strange and inexplicable way, they occupied 90% of Yang Kai's skin, except for his face. Slowly getting up, Yang Kai's expression was calm, without joy or sorrow, and his eyes were cold as ice. However, he could clearly feel that his current state was very different from before. Unlike before, when he was wrapped in black evil chi, even his face couldn't be seen clearly. Now, if Yang Kai didn't take off his clothes, he would look no different from normal. But now, the combat strength he could display was much more tyrannical than before. His realm was still the same, without the slightest improvement. That huge mass of evil spirit essence seemed to be the key to opening the unyielding golden skeleton. As Yang Kai stood up, the whole world seemed to tremble, and a constant buzzing sound rang out, giving people the illusion that the world was about to collapse. Moreover, the incomparable demonic chi radiated outwards, and everyone 1,000 meters away from the cave clearly felt it, their eyes trembling violently as they panicked. Gently clenching his fist, a crisp sound rang out. This fist seemed to contain the power to destroy the heavens and the earth. Yang Kai had never felt such a sense of self-confidence, as if even if an immortal ascension boundary master stood in front of him, he would still be able to destroy them. With a wave of his hand, a jet of dark evil chi flew out like a spirit snake, directly drilling into the frozen cave wall in front of him. Under the perception of Yang Kai's divine sense, this evil chi broke through several dozen meters before slowly disappearing. Not bad, Yang Kai grinned, a somewhat ferocious look on his face. In addition, Yang Kai felt that the vitality contained in his body was unprecedentedly vigorous. Compared to normal, it was at least 4 or 5 times more vigorous. The most obvious feature of a vigorous vitality was its powerful recovery ability. Strength and speed were also linked to the strength of one's vitality. After becoming the demon race, all the vitality in his body seemed to have been activated and even magnified. Welcome to Legends of Cultivation audiobooks, where we bring ancient fantasy to life through storytelling. Follow the rise of heroes who defy fate, unlock mystical powers, and battle across celestial realms. Our audiobooks are crafted for fans of Chinese cultivation novels, filled with battles, breakthroughs, and legendary artifacts. Subscribe and be part of an unforgettable journey into the realm of immortality.